This session here is all about crafting our dream. All right, crafting the goal that you all had written down earlier. Like I said, we're basically just building the house on top of the foundation we set at the very beginning. Okay, and so everything in this session is basically dedicated to productivity. Okay, now I know to most of my believers in here that might sound like a foreign word because God does it all. But let me tell you something. God's not doing anything with your laziness. So in this session, we're focusing on just the practical work that you should be doing to make your dream happen. That does not matter whether you are agnostic, atheist, Christian, Baptist, rich, poor, black, white, Dominican, whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you have work that you have to do in order to make it happen. All right. So I have some people on this panel who, like I said, have made a major impact in my life in many different ways, and I'm really honored to call them friends. But they are geniuses in their own right and in their industries. And so, like I said, in the same way that they've impacted me, I do believe that they will be able to share something that will leave a lasting impact on you. And so, to introduce my first panelist, this is a man who, when I met him, I could just tell he was a strategist like myself. He is someone that, when you meet people, you just instantly have a connection with them and you're like, okay, I can get on board with whatever you're doing. And so this is my guy. But like I said, this is someone that, above all titles and everything like that, you can get caught up into that type of stuff. At the end of the day, it's nice to be able to know you have friends. And so the first person on the panel is Pastor Rashad Shabazz. Please put your hands together. Mr. Strategy is here. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And our next panelist, this is a woman that when I met her, I didn't even know who I was meeting. And here's what I mean when I say that. You meet certain people in certain spaces and you just think like, you're a really nice person. I'd love to know you, but I really have no idea that you actually have anything in connection to what I do. This was my experience with her. And like once I got connected with her, y'all, she's connected to TEDx. Y'all, she has a TEDx talk out. I'm telling you, you should watch it and have a box of tissues next to you because I'm telling you, it is amazing. And so it is my honor to welcome to the Dream Panel, Keturah Rosato, Mrs. Momentum. Please put your hands together for her. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And then lastly, last but certainly not least, my man. I call him Mr. Jones, not because of his last name, y'all. If you know what I mean, if you know what I mean. This is Mr. Jones right here. You know the saying, keeping up with the Joneses? I'm trying to tell you something. But no, this is a guy that, we met in college. And since then, I've been thankful to call him a brother. He's been there for me as I built this. And he's just been a great support. And he is absolutely crushing it in the professional space and in the corporate space. And I do believe that he's going to really help bridge the gap. I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs in here. But at the same time, the 9-to-5ers, there's practical things that you can do as well to make your goals happen. And I believe his perspective is really going to help a lot with that. So with that being said, please welcome to the stage, Cory Jones Jr. Thank you, sir. All right. So just make sure, turn your mics on. I didn't turn them on yet. My bad. Just make sure they're on. Okay. So, as I said before, the purpose of this panel is to just us to get real, okay? Because like I said, we're here to be honest. We're here to get clear on what we need to do in order to make our dream happen. And too often, particularly as the world is starting to segment itself into whether you're an entrepreneur, that means you just have a different way of life than someone who's a 9-to-5. At the end of the day, work is across the board. At the end of the day, you have to work, right? And now an entrepreneur's work is different, but what you're going to see through these series of questions, and again, like before, if you have a question, you're going to see the number to text it. There's a lot of things that are related. There are a lot of things that are in common when you think about the practical steps necessary to be productive in the entrepreneurial world, as well as in the corporate world, that will still lead you to the success that you're looking for. Okay? So as we go through these questions, brainstorm questions, but I really want you to pull away like practical action steps. Because again, we're not here to be motivational. I want you to be able to leave knowing exactly what you're going to do as a result of whatever it is that you wrote down at the beginning of this. And so with that being said, let's just kick off the first question. And I just want to open up. I want to start with Keturah. You start off with this question. You answer first, then everyone else can flow however you'd like. All right, but this is for everyone. This is for the group. How does a person overcome procrastination?
Oh dear. So, the short answer to that, I would say, is check in with your emotions. Um, Procrastination is really a self sabotage tool. In the work that I do, there's what you call the saboteurs, right? And if anybody, if any one of you wanted to take this assessment, right? It gives you an opportunity to see the places where you self sabotage, right? And so it's really just a defense mechanism. If we think about all of the things that we know we have to do, we know there's a deadline, but then things get in the way. Those things are just our internal way of avoiding what we have to do. So, what then I would say to you is to really, really tap into your emotions, because your emotions are actually providing information to you. It's one of the most intrinsic ways that we communicate. Before you even are able to speak, before you are able to utter a single word, emotions, you communicate through that. As a baby, you think about a baby saying, "Hey, I need something." What do? They cry. And so, for however we go through life, and if I'm getting too therapeutic, tell me. However, we go through our own life processes and however we find our ways to get through the next thing, the things that we avoid, our emotions will tell us why.
That's good. That's good. Anybody else want to add to that?
Hello. I think, in addition, sometimes I procrastinate because I shouldn't be doing it at all. Whether it's something I'm forcing myself to do that I shouldn't do, or as an entrepreneur, whether it's something I should have hired somebody to do 6 months ago. So I think that's one way, is should I be doing it? I think the second way is to hold yourself accountable as though you were your own employee. So I think sometimes as an entrepreneur, we take too much liberty. So if the expense report is supposed to be done Monday at 5 p.m., just holding myself accountable to that. And then what else? A practical tool that cost me $500 is, I had a friend, and I said, if I didn't do this thing over a certain amount of time, I got to give you $100 every time I don't do it for a month. And that cost me $500, but it's always been done since then. So
So I'll take more of a practical approach. So I would say, one, become self-aware. Actually realize that you're procrastinating, right? That's the first step. And if I was to give you an example, if I was to give everybody an elephant in this room, right, you wouldn't try to eat that elephant at one time, right? You would try to break it down in bite-sized chunks. So start to make your task manageable, right? And don't let time management be a determinant from you mastering a skill.
That's good. That's good. So this next question. Well, let me go back a little bit, because procrastination is one of those things that get on my nerves when people say that they're procrastinating. So to me, procrastinating just means you don't care about what you have to do. To me, if you really have something that you care about, you're not going to take your time to do it. So I agree with, in terms of everything I said, in terms of being aware that you are procrastinating, but you also need to assess, to what Pastor Rashad said, should I be doing it? Does this actually matter to me the way I think it does? Or is this just something to do? So
also, don't get sucked into the lie, I work best last minute.
right. Don't do that. That is a lie. That is a lie. You're trying to convince yourself. So the next question, this one is specific to Cory. This one's going straight to you, Cory. What are practical keys to success in the professional world? Just practical keys to success.
Okay, so I'll break it down into 3 steps. So one, develop your why, right? Find the driving force behind why you do what you do, because that's going to become your intrinsic motivation for being successful, right? Nextly, after you find your why, then write down your goals. So all of the great things that we did early on today are very important to achieving your why, right? So write down your goals. And then after you write down your goals, start to develop habits and routines to achieve those goals, right? So I'm a huge proponent of daily routines. Like, so for me, I know first and foremost, right, health and wellness. I can't do anything that I do without being healthy, right? Now, breaking that down into smaller chunks, I know I'm lazy in the afternoons, right? I want to go home, watch the game, eat pizza, so I work out in the mornings, right? I wake up at 4:30. I work out from 4:30 to
Y'all hear that?
What time you get up?
Yeah, I was say y'all heard that, right?
I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. 4:30 to 5:30. I work out. I get dressed. Take me out. Take me a while to get dressed because I want to look nice. You know, I feel like you look how you feel.
Look good, feel good. Yeah. Look good, work good. I get it.
But I know. I say all that to say I know I'm a lot more productive during the day in the mornings, right? Um, so I go in. I check my emails. And then I carve out some I call it don't bother me time, right? Where I can actually be productive and get work done. Because I'm not sure how many of you all work in the office, but when you work in the office with a lot of people, right? People are pulling, especially if you're in a leadership position, you get pulled in numerous directions, and you find yourself not being able to complete your personal tasks because you can. Everybody, when you're a decision maker, everybody wants you to make the decisions all the time, right? So I carve out some don't bother me time, right? That's an hour or two where I'm just strictly productive. And then after that, I'll take a break, right? So I'll go and I'll crack jokes in the office, right? Bother other people because they were bothering me when I was doing my time. And then I I go back and I have a little bit more productive time. And then I will say this too: don't feel like you have to sit in the office for 12 hours, and don't feel like you're not successful because you don't spend numerous amounts of time. It's okay to walk away, right? It's okay to walk away and save work for tomorrow, right? Sitting in the office and not being productive is just as bad as sitting in the office and sitting there for 12 hours just to say that you're sitting there. Um,
That's good.
that's gonna make you successful, right?
That's good. I like that. I think in what he's saying, starting his day early because he understands when he works best, but also time blocking, just the practical step of time blocking, not just saying, well, the Lord's going to provide. Like you manage your time. That was good. I like that. Anything to add?
Just highlight one great thing he said, and I think it ties into procrastination. You should do your hardest task when you have the most energy. So, with the idea of working out, a lot of times we try to do too much. So, there's a book by Cory called At Your Best, and he talks about we have green time, yellow time, and red time. You do your most important tasks at your green time. So you probably shouldn't wake up and scroll social media and like you should probably do the most important task, especially if you're working a 9 to 5 like us and doing entrepreneurship. So sometimes it's just what's the one thing that I can do today? And if you do that 5 times, you've knocked out a great portion.
Yeah, but say, Lord have mercy. That was good. All right. So this next question, let's quick fire this one. All right. And the question is, what are some habits that have accelerated you? So just quick fire, just what are just some clear habits that you have that you do on a consistent basis that has like really you saw the leap, you saw the change and the improvement in your life? And I'll start off with let's start off with Pastor Rashad on this one.
Quick fire. Habits that have accelerated me. I'm tracking certain things every day. So whatever my goal is for that season, whether it's financial, whether it's health, when I track it day in and day out, and having intentional moments of reflection. So I've done recently reflecting on a day, reflecting on a month, reflecting on a quarter, reflecting on a year. That then frames my acceleration.
I like that. That's good. It's good.
Very similar to you, journaling. I would just say that it was something I did not do prior to becoming an entrepreneur, but I find that when I have written things down, a lot of the answers that we know we need, God provides it in these moments of reflection. And then there's more to do with the parasympathetic nervous system, all of that. But journaling, if you really, really want to activate those parts of you where God has put creativity on the inside of you, journaling is one of those things that
I like
will
that.
definitely increase
That's
your
good.
life.
Corey, what about you?
Yeah, so I made it a habit to become adaptable, right? No plan that I ever put in place, nothing that I ever write down ever works out 100%, right? And I know that. So there's no need of me getting down on myself when it doesn't happen. Um, and therefore, I decided to make it a habit to be adaptable. I've also made it a habit to cultivate relationships, right? It's a reason that we're all in this room. It's a community full of people who are looking to grow and personally develop themselves, and it's a lot that fosters within community, right? So I always say that your network is your net worth, right? Like life is all about who you know, not what you can do. And we all are here for a particular reason, right? We're not
Sure.
getting any money out of it, but we're getting something that's better than financial, that can't be taken away from us, that we'll leave with and be able to take and elevate somebody else.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Keturah, you kind of touched on this earlier, but this one's specific to you. Just what are practical keys to success in entrepreneurship? And we made this a shotgun, please. Shotgun. Hallelujah. Thank you, Pastor.
So there's this thing I use. It's called the 4A shift. So if you just write the words attention, awareness, alignment, and accountability. Those 4 things have made the biggest difference in my life. When you're in business, you have the same 24 hours that everybody has. And I think I heard somebody say everything is vying for your attention. So you have to get intentional with what you give your attention to. Awareness, again, because I'm in the clinical space, I see a lot of people who are in business and they're quite financially successful, but then there's a that they never have a word for. And I usually call it emotional fluency. So that's where the awareness comes in, shifting your alignment. Um, again, purpose, being about a purpose driven lifestyle, being about a purpose driven business, being about a purpose driven relationship. All of those things are so important. And finally, shifting your accountability. Accountability, why? Listen, if you took a quiz on me, it would be like rogue, rebel, all those R words that tell you like, stay away from her. That was me, right? And it worked. It worked for me. Like she was a nice girl, but don't get her. Like that's the kind of thing, right? But then when you are in a space that you're serving people, and if you want to serve them the heart of Jesus, then you kind of have to move you out of the way. That is something that I had to learn to do and do fast if I really wanted to be not just intentional, but excellent at the work that God gave me to do. So my accountability had to go to the source, like all the way, and all of me had to die.
That's right. No, but that's real though. I like that. Here's a good question. What is a consistent obstacle that you all face and you overcome? What is a consistent obstacle you all face and overcome? Go say that one more time.
Myself.
Yourself. I like that.
So the question was asked earlier about why habits. Scripture talks about that we go from glory to glory and that Christ is continuing to be shaped and formed in us. So that means that typically the tomorrow that God is bringing me into, there's a part of me today that has to die.
That's right.
And so I noticed that every promotion, every breakthrough, every financial lid, there's a part of me that I have to be willing to let go of, that I have to be willing to say goodbye to for the purpose of walking into what I feel like is greater.
That's good.
It's kind of like a snake taking off the skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Evolution. I like that. Improvement. Go ahead, Cory.
So I think I'll echo that. So I'm not sure many know, but I work for my I'm third generation of family-owned business in construction, right? So every decision that I make rests on the family's safety and security and sustainability, right? And I had to learn how to get out of the fear of taking calculated risks. And I always say, jump out the plane and build your wings on the way down, right? So in entrepreneurship, right, it's all about risk taking, right? And I had to realize that every decision that I make is not going to be the best decision, but I got to make a decision. Because if I don't, then I'm stagnant.
That's good. That's really good. It's really good.
And for me, it's remembering that every stage of growth is a next level pit. And when we're in the pit, we forget that we just overcame something. But remembering again, and back to really checking in with our emotions. And emotions are a gift from God, you know? There's so much we could say about it, but that is the one obstacle for me that I'm constantly overcoming. That when you're in it, you're just in the thick of it.
I like that. This next question is for Mr. Strategy. How does a person overcome personal emotions to do the work? How do they overcome personal emotions?
So first of all, I don't know why I'm getting the question, and she has a book coming out about emotions in March. But Trevon asked me to be a pastor on this one. So I think the first one in this question is we have to make sure that we have the right understanding about emotions. I think a lot of times our emotions are on two extremes. One is I don't need them, they make me soft. The other is my emotions are that which is leading my life. And part of us being human is to have emotions, whether it be throughout philosophy or whether it be throughout scripture, you see emotions played an important role. Whether it be when Jesus was born, everybody was excited. Whether it be when he saw Lazarus was dead, he began to weep. Whether it be anger because the house of God was being defiled, emotions were there. But also, if you study deeper, after he cried about Lazarus, he was then able to provide a healing. So a lot of times on the other side of an emotion is a breakthrough, is a miracle. There's something on the other side of it. But for us to actually walk into it, we have to acknowledge it. Once we acknowledge it, we have to take the time to actually dissect and discern, like, how much of this is sad, how much of this is frustration, how much of this is I'm triggered, then deal with it in the presence of God, or for those who may not be a Christian, someone I trust, then make an action on what I'm gonna do as a result of this. Recognizing that some of the best parts of life are experienced in the emotion. So it's not something to fight, it's not something to say, this is horrible, and it's also not something to lead me, but it's part of what makes us human. And it's recognizing for those of us who have faith, like God is in the emotion.
That's good. That's good. Man, that was good, right? Y'all getting this, right? Y'all enjoying this? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure this is gems being dropped. This is for the group. How does a person figure out how they work best? So it's been mentioned a couple of times. Just how does somebody who, yes, I'm a believer, yes, I have faith, but how do I basically create an environment to where I'm able to really be my best?
I think it's simple, trial and error, right? Like you don't know until you do it, right? You don't know it don't work until you do it. Um, and once you do it, you realize that it don't work or it work, and you adapt, you revamp, you become innovative, right? You change the way in which you're doing things to make it work for you. So, to me, I think that's the simplest way that I can put it.
I love that.
And I'm an info junkie, so there are so many assessments that describe personality traits, and God made each and every one of us so unique. His word tells us, "Before I was formed in my mother's womb, you knew me." So we know that God knows us, but God has also given us clues. God has given us so much, and why reinvent the wheel? There are ways to learn what works for certain personality types, what works for certain interest types, what works for so many things. And even for me, there's so much that I had to learn about myself and unlearn about myself as well, so that I could be productive in the ways that matter the most as an entrepreneur.
And I would also add, you got to be willing to do what you don't want to do.
Well,
I think sometimes in trying to find how I work best, I avoid the things that I think don't work best. So as I was reflecting over the trial and error, it's like I had to be willing to do 100% of whatever was willing to be done. And then in times of reflection or what got me results, and then that kind of helped me to see.
that's good.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
I would also say get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because obviously being comfortable, you still want more, right? So obviously there's something about being comfortable that's not providing you the full satisfaction that you want, right? So get uncomfortable being get comfortable being in an uncomfortable space, and that's where you start to see the most growth.
Yeah. And if I could add too with the find out where you work, make sure it's getting you the results you actually want. If you working at your best still only get you 80%, you ain't working at the right thing. All right. Like work comfortably. But for example, if you need to just have a silent office for you to do your best work at 100%, have a silent office. If you can listen to music, great. I'm able to work with music. I need noise. I need chaos in order for me to work. That's me. But you got to figure out what works with for you. Like Cory said, it's all trial and error. But you want to make sure it gets you a result, not just what makes you feel good while you work. All right. So this next question: how does a person overcome their fears? How does a person overcome their fears?
Can you tell that we still have fears? Like all three of us? Well, the word of God says this, that he hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but he gave us a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind, you know? And the thing about fear is this, like fear will trip you up and beat you up more than the fight itself. And when we like get that in our belly and recognize that, man, the only way to get rid of this thing is to just get through this thing. You know, the other thing I think that's important in overcoming fear is purpose. It drives us back, everything drives us back to the heart of God, is purpose. Because when you tap in from that space, the first thing Trevon mentioned here about everything that we do is it has to be spirit led. It has to be. But when we tap into that, and the Spirit of God is truly, truly resting on everything that we do, even if we're doing it afraid, then that scripture is activated not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit.
If I was being edgy, I would say I don't know that I actually want to get rid of fear. I just don't want it to control me. Because there is a natural, you walk through a dark alley, like fear is going to tell you pick up your feet or make sure that you're not alone. So I think it's to go practically, what am I afraid of? What is my response to it? And then walking through it. And for the Christian, it's God is with me. For the entrepreneur, I know I'm supposed to do this. For the mother, even though I don't feel like I can raise this child, God gave me this child, so God is going to give me what I need to do this child. But I think it's once we've done that work, we have to keep our self-talk to motivate us and move us forward.
That's good. And one thing too, and everyone kind of mentioned it, like for me, I allow my fear to guide me. And here's what I mean. Most of the time, the thing that you're afraid to do is the thing you should do. Most of the time. Right. And so it's really just having that trust in that 20% that, if I really believe that God has me, if I really believe, God, I put my hope in you, so you're going to make this work out for my good. If I really believe that, then I'm going to run towards the fear, right? I was reading in First Samuel when David was facing Goliath, it said that he ran towards him. So it's looking at the giant, it's looking at the mountain and saying, okay, I don't even know how I'm going to beat it, but I'm willing to run towards it, and I'll trust God with the 20%. I'll at least do my part.
Which the first place you see fear is in Genesis 3 when they sinned and they hid from God.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to do is allow fear to cause you to run from God. But in essence, David was running to the assignment
Correct.
that he felt like God had for him.
That's good. That's good. Keturah, you had something?
Just, wanted to throw in a little bit of science in there for the science lovers. There is a part of our brain that responds to protect us. So, when you think of somebody like myself, I'm scared of certain dogs, not all dogs, right? But there was a time I was scared of all dogs. But that fear was associated with a memory. I got bit by a dog when I was 5. So dogs were synonymous with danger to me. And so there are many things that for us, it's new, it's uncomfortable. I know for me, and I'll just be honest because I want to help people in the room. When I started business, my biggest fear was my white clients. because I felt like, well, what do you, what do you want? What do you want me to share with you? Like, you have all the, but that was a mindset that was associated with cultural norms. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to go to those places, because what if you're the solution in a space where it feels very uncomfortable to you? What if what God put on the inside of you for the audience that He placed you for is something that makes you get weak in the knees? And if we are working from a spirit of excellence, these are the deep fears. Like, I'm not saying that everybody in this room, I'm saying for me, like, I'm being honest, open, and transparent. My biggest fear in business was white people. And I had to get over that. I had to look in the places where there was a story that made that even have relevance for me. So, okay, guys, I'm done.
Wow. That's good. That's good. This question wasn't on there, but I'm gonna kick it to you all. How important are success models, mentors, coaches when you think about actually doing the work? Because I do believe to some degree all of us should have, like I said, a success model, someone we aspire to be like, a mentor that we're able to, pick their brain on what to do. Just someone who is where they are where we want to be and we are where they used to be. How important is having those types of relationships?
I would say use those individuals as a lighthouse to your success, right? Take advantage of that wisdom, take advantage of that experience. Why reinvent the wheel? Why everybody these days want to get it out the mud, right? But
For what?
why do that when you don't have to? If you have somebody who's already charted that path, who can give you the guidance to get there, right? Why not take the road less traveled? You know? And to add to that, I would say, sorry, I'm just trying to get my words together.
Take your time, brother. Take your time.
um, it goes back to cultivating relationships too. So that doesn't have to be one person. You know, find as many people that you can have, the greater community of people to be able to best help you on your journey.
That's good. That's good.
Very. Yeah, I just think we're operating off of a model or framework already. So I think to inspect it and make sure that it's the one that we actually want to follow is very important. I think it's the key to acceleration. My wife and I recently had a successful 6 months in a business. And the reason it was successful is because we did exactly what the mentor said to do.
That's
Like,
good.
he had proven it could work. So why am I going to go somewhere and try to do it? No, like, I'm going to do exactly what you said. And I got the results of in 6 months what he got in 6 years.
That's right. That's right. That's good.
And it's not enough to be familiar with the model. Many times we think, okay, well, I know it, but do we really implement it? Are we doing the thing? Are we actually step by step doing the thing and allowing, after we've done the thing, for the creativity that comes from God to really speak to us? You know, like God told Abraham, go, leave your mom, leave your father, right? But He gave him specific instructions. Do this, do that, and then back to that 80-20. Oh my goodness, I love it, right? You have to do this, leave your mom, leave your father, and make movement happen. And then I will show you the place, right? I will show you the thing. So I think success models are super critical unless you just have extra time to waste. But when you do that, you can actually stand in so much confidence knowing that, yeah, I did the part, I did what I have to do. And if there are kinks, then that's just something new for me to discover a solution to. You know, like, we got to start looking at things like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And one thing I add too, when you think about success models, mentors, and everything like that, make sure that whatever there is that they're telling you leads to action and not dependency. Because too often, the thing that you've been praying for will show up at your door, and you say, "Wait, I gotta go talk to my therapist before I say yes to this. Wait, I gotta go talk to my pastor before I say yes to this." You have a mind of your own. Now, again, to everything that was said, take the action, follow the steps, because everybody's dream here is already being done. The framework's already there. If you want to have a successful business, there's plenty of people doing it. If you want to have a C-suite, somebody's already doing it. If you want to be married, people are married. Like, it's already done, right? So I'm not saying don't get the information to find out, but make sure that you still have a mind of your own, that it doesn't just lead to you being stuck because, well, I got to hear from so-and-so before I even, when God's just literally like, wait a minute, I thought I was the answer. I just provided what you were looking for, right? And that happens a lot. And I know that may make you uncomfortable. I know I may get in trouble, but I really don't care because I really want to help y'all, right? You, again, everything that we're talking about here should lead to the result you want, whatever that is. All right. You don't need to be dependent on any person. The only thing I should say you should be dependent on is God. That's it. That's it. You should get information from others. But when it comes to just, okay, who has the final say about whether I say yes to this deal, whether I say yes to this date, whatever area it is, it's God. All right. So I wanted to make sure that was said.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
So I agree with 100% what he said. I was actually going to say the same thing in a different way, though. In my seat, I see that done to the extreme. Meaning, somebody says, "I want to be coached. I want to be mentored. I want to walk through a journey," but they don't submit to the process. Right? So you make the decision. It's you and God. It's your decision. But similar to premarital, we decided it was going to be however many sessions. I felt like y'all got some extra sessions. But you still showed up for the work. Like, we still had conversations. And so I think sometimes everything he just said, I agree with. I think the other side, if you paid for a 12-month coaching program, go to all 12 months. Right. If you paid for accountability, engage in the accountability.
Yes.
So there is a part of uncomfortability that is required when I'm working through a model, because if you know everything, then you wouldn't be doing the model.
Right.
So I think there is a side of where you don't teach me how to think, but if I'm trying to renew my mind and I'm trying to learn something new and different, there is uncomfortability, there is check-in, there are conversations that I need to have, because like 80% of people don't complete coaching programs. They pay thousands of dollars, but they won't do it.
Hundreds of thousands.
And a lot of them say, well, I want to do it my own way. Well, how's that working out for you?
Right. Oh, that's good. That's good. Honor your commitments. Honor your commitments, but think for yourself.
And that's the thing, like the whole goal. So I'm a pastor, I'm a coach and all that. The whole goal when I'm talking to someone, Rashad, talking to a mentor, I want to learn how you think so I can know how to apply to my situation. I'm not trying to get you to think for me, because you're not me. But I do want to know, okay, you've been married for 20 years and y'all don't fight that much? How? Is it that you weak and she control? Or what is it? Like, I want to know the how. So I ask questions to understand more of the how so I can put it in my context. Or, to go along with Ravon, I ask questions and I'm saying, God, what do you want me to do with this information?
Yeah. You guys got something out of that?